Hi, I'm the Nuclear Rabbit and this is the 15x with 15 different skills Necromancer. After creating our character, we immediately run into a problem. Our Necro does not have 15 skills that deal damage. I should mention that this is part 6 of 7, so once the 3 people from Gen Alpha unpause the video, I can explain to everyone that I've done 5 runs in this style before this. For now though, just know that I've spent 5 complete hell runs picking up fulminating potions to prepare for Act 1 of the Necromancer run, because we are going to be throwing them. They even deal fire damage, which is perfect for Andariel. With the first skill of choice raring to go, we make our way into the cold plains where the Dark Spear woman attacked me on sight. This is already a pretty rough start to the area, but having to switch out potions in the middle of it really drives home the point of just how dire this entire run is going to be. The upside of playing only with potions however is that I don't care much about my corpse because I can just re-equip all my gear in town anyway. Just for sport I do go and pick up my vital remains before making sure that they won't do it again. The potions weren't the only thing I had prepped, so I get to go dumpster diving for gear every once in a while. At this point just for some starter gear like a berserker's helm and a magic wand. But Diablo 2 is all about enjoying the little things. Don't worry though, this doesn't mean that I'm suddenly overpowered or anything. Necromancers just don't really get strong. I work my way through the act for a bit, which allows me to reach 60 strength, enabling me to equip the mighty Saigons. This set is just the bee's knees and makes you look cool in the process. It has a bunch of melee mods we don't care about for this run, but any gear is better than no gear. In the barracks, a champion bone archer locks me in with the smith. He has always been kind to me, lending me his hammer every time I didn't ask, so I wasn't planning on fighting him. Guess I've got no choice though, so down he goes. Just like me, a few minutes later. The catacombs are just not agreeing with me today. The second time through, I end up using the only point of health that truly matters. It's a good thing one is not 0, cause dying in Act 1 normal would be embarrassing. Good thing I never did. Yep, really, never once happened. To round out my Saigon set, I equipped the shield as well, which has +1 to skills. The only mod I actually care about on the whole set. For the full set bonus there is damage reduced by 7 as well. With that I'm hoping I stop dying so much, cause we aren't even out of Act 1 normal, and I'm already sick of this run. To my actual amazement, just wearing Saigons and drinking a few antidotes has you able to tank the angry basement lady on level 4, so in one fiery little explosion. The first act is cleared, so let's never talk about it again, and here's to hoping the others go smoother than this. For the desert we are going with the Scorching Hot Iron Maiden skill. This skill returns the physical melee damage you take in spades. And while we aren't quite as dangerous as Abyss Knights when they still had Iron Maiden as a skill, this should work. Gameplay wise, this isn't the most exciting thing to talk about. I'm mostly just standing around forgetting how buttons work, except for the every few seconds I need to recast Iron Maiden. Now I'm no power slave, but I do need a cube. So while it's not quite the weekend yet, I go and get spanked before grabbing our cube. It's hip to be square after all. I don't have a fear of the dark, but the maggot lair, it haunts me. Everything in here does melee attacks, so there is no problem with getting through. But oh my fucking god, did it take forever to get through here. It's a good thing speeding through these acts isn't a matter of life and death, cause we'd be dead, buried, dug up, killed again and reburied. The salamanders in the Claw Viper Temple don't have the same problem at all. These guys come in with murder written all over my life total. A thing I like saying is that 1 is not 0, but 0 is definitely 0, and I am definitely dead. Having retrieved my corpse, surely things will be fine now. Yeah, no. This run is one of the ones of all time for sure. I finally end up surviving this ordeal at exactly 1 hit point, which still isn't 0, so I finally get to leave. For those wondering if I can get through the Arcane Sanctuary like this, here you go. Every single enemy in here has a melee attack, just like the maggot lair. It took forever, but it wasn't hard to do. No problems here at all. Iron Maiden is as far as I know the speedrun strategy to deal with Duriel as a necromancer, so the numbers of the beast are counted and upon his demise there are no prayers for the dying. With every single Iron Maiden reference known to man jammed crudely into a video done, it is time for a dance of death in a brave new world called Act 3. For Act 3 I'm going with Rave's skeletal mage. Not because they are good or because I like them or anything like that, but this might just be the last act that these nincompoops are able to get through. The skeletal mages got a buff to their damage a few patches ago and they are still just fucking awful. In normal they do fine enough though, I guess. Still not great, but I can work with this. I've done worse. Gameplay wise there once again isn't a lot for me to cover. You can summon mages for any of the elements, and normally this would warrant a comparison between them to explain to you about which one is better and which one works in whatever area. But the best you can do with the skeletal mages is to just not put any skill points into them and just put them into anything else. The big problem with summons in this game is that they take 10 trillion times the damage from act bosses and hostile hydras. Now, you can just run back and pick up a few more from yesterday's cold leftovers. So once I've revived my red mistbound click, we isolate Torque and give him his own surname, an Ice Fisting. Mephisto is an even bigger threat to the mages than the council was, and cause I can't attack anyway, I figured I was just going to be the tank for this fight. So I just stood there and took the hits. If you've ever tried tanking with a Necromancer, you know exactly how this ended. After making some new friends, I go for the tanking again. This time I'm actually playing the game and moving around attacks instead of just standing around like my balls drop to the floor and I'm afraid to stand on them. It took another go of it, but this ended up working and we are ready to move away from the skeletal mages and into the 4th act. Having taken the portal to hell, we get quite the upgrade in our skell selection. We are going from the skeletal mages to the melee skeletons. Contrary to their spellslinger other halves, these are quite powerful. You are limited to just a few of them unfortunately, but I can see why they decided to do that. I wish they hadn't, but at least it makes sense. I personally would have loved an extra skeleton per skill point in them. I don't think it would have broken the game at all. Can you imagine both skeleton skills having a skeleton per skill point? Just a casual 40 each seems about right to crash every single PC in the 2000s. I fondly remember the days of disconnecting people by summoning way too much shit. It was a glorious time. With the entire act being cleared, I do encounter one little smidgen of a detail that is not exactly a glorious time. Just like the mages, the skeletal warriors take a just stupid amount of damage from act bosses, which results in Diablo wiping all of them out with just a single attack. Fortunately, I can just walk through the Chaos Sanctuary and pick up some new warriors. Not like this badge stands a chance though. I end up running out of ways to revive things in the sanctuary itself, forcing me to go back to Act 1 to find more resources to deal with the fight. And I'll just mention it myself because I know the comment section will go ham if I don't. Yes, I'm using Iron Maiden in this fight, technically costing me the challenge. I had hoped the skeletons would clear it on their own. The final part of the fight, the skeletons were killed again and I ended up alone at the end, with Diablo taking down himself due to Iron Maiden. If you want to call the challenge lost, so be it. I couldn't find a better way. And don't worry, there is plenty of suffering coming. I know a lot of you don't even care about the rules and just want to see me get wrecked by the game. Which is fine, I too feed off of the misery of others. And if you were still worried after all the deaths in Act 1 and 2, don't worry, the problems aren't over, not even close. But we'll get to that when we get to it. With the skeleton skills being all done, it is time to do my first respec. This time around I went into the golem part of the summoning tree. Now I hear you saying, golems don't have any damage, and well, you're not wrong. I'm starting with the clay golem cause it has 53% slow and I will never get bored of breaking Bale. Now to make sure that everyone knows how things are going to work for the next few acts, there is a mercenary on the screen. His name is Durga and he, much like some of my best works, is a silent assassin. There is also a bit of Iron Maiden and Amplify damage going on. We are going to ignore all of these. None of those are actually happening. From here on out, it is just the golems doing all the work. And everything else you hear or see about is either AI or propaganda sent by the Diablo Mafia. The most dangerous part of the Ancients is Talik getting slowed. Usually an enemy getting slowed way down makes it so that their damage is capped and they are pretty harmless. Talik however uses Whirlwind, which loves being slowed cause it just means it gets to deal hits closer together. None of that however is my problem, as the clay golem. And the clay golem only, no one else here for this and the next few acts, deals with them without too many problems. In the Throne of Destruction, the second of Bale's waves revives its own skeletons. To deal with this, everybody's favorite golem has to wait until cold damage magically happens and magically shatters every skeleton in the room. I can't explain it, just pure magic. I've shown this off many times, but I'll gladly show it again. Once you have enough slow Bale just breaks, his attacks become so slow that they cancel themselves. This is the whole reason why I chose to use the clay golem here. Long story short, this fight is free, he can't fight back at all. So, onwards to Nightmare we go. Andariel is still weak to fire, so I figured that using the fire golem to do Act 1 Nightmare would be the way to go. This golem isn't very complicated. It deals fire damage, not exactly a lot of it, but it's there. The big problem with all 4 of the golems in the game is that their damage is just too low, and I know mods allow you to summon all 4 of them at the same time, which seems like a step in the right direction for sure. In the base game, no such thing is going on though, so after clearing the Den of Evil I just do nothing but the quests that give me loot, then sell that back to Akara at a profit and head into the Andariel fight. Even with being about as resistant to fire as dry grass, the Andariel fight still comes down to the magical powers of me tanking and letting thin air solve the problem. A great showcase of exactly the problem with the golems. The fight couldn't be more favorable for Mr. Firestarter here, and still it just does nothing. Andariel drops a unique demon hide sash, which is the string of ears. This fantastic unique belt can go from 6 to 8 life leech, so we rolled perfect on that. It gets 10 to 15 physical damage as well, so we rolled dead on in the middle for that one. This isn't intended for a caster, but it's one of the best melee belts in the game. In Act 2, it's time for the Blood Golem. This has you summoning a golem that has more life than it will ever know what to do with, converts more than its actual damage to your health pool, deals very little damage to compensate and costs a boatload of mana. I like what they were going for with this. It could use some tweaking on the numbers and such, cause how it is now, I have never seen anyone use this skill in my life, and lo and behold it will be my first time as well. Let's just hope it's a gentle golem. There are some minor bumps with getting through things, but with thousands of life, the golem is just unkillable. It doesn't do much either, but that's beside the point. One thing I'm noticing is that I'm taking lots and lots of damage. To help compensate for that, I switched the demon hide sash I just found for a rare one with a couple resistances and a triple perfect diamond shield. I'm still nowhere near max, but at least I'm in the plus now. The maggot lair is just a lesson in patience and letting the magic happen. Enemies are just dying from thin air in the tunnels, allowing me to grab the Staff of Kings and get out of there. For Duriel, I decided that we are not going to argue about whom killed whom. All that matters is that the bug is taking damage in a way that results in him losing the bout, resulting in 1 for the golem, Act 2 done for the necro, 3 for the number of the act we are about to enter. We aren't going to Act 5 yet though, that is too far for now. Revives are the name of the game in the 3rd act of Nightmare. This is the first skill we are using in a long time that is actually good, which is why I decided to use it on the biggest act. Gameplay wise, it's still just a lot of me standing around and watching other people work while pretending I'm helping. So basically I've been working on a career in management for the last couple of acts. Making my way through the act, almost all of it went swimmingly. It was nice to not suffer for a bit, but once I got to the Flayer dungeon, the ghosts were able to defeat my revives in one-on-one combat. Having revived my magic damage that still isn't on the screen at all, the tide of the battle turns, and thanks to every enemy becoming a new friend upon death, we managed to send all the Caspers back to wherever they came from. This stroke of success lasted all the way until around the corner, where I got destroyed anyway. Man, it was so nice not suffering for a bit, but here we are again. I've had a bunch of people ask me what Diablo 2 challenge running is like and if you should get into it, and this is just what it's like. You do a thing, get a glimpse of happiness like the rain inside your head is suddenly lifted. What it opens up to is not sunshine. Instead, it is the game holding a bucket of dog vomit while wearing a shit-eating grin with a twinkle in its eyes reflecting happiness like the stars of Christmas. You know something terrible will come again every single time, but you endure on, you suffer through, cause the final result will be worth it. But ladies and gentleflaps, that is what Diablo 2 challenge running, and I'm guessing challenge running in general is like. You just learn to love the suffering for content. And should you get into that, I can't tell you. It definitely requires a special set of skills, like not having a real job, too much time on your hands and ignoring all your loved ones for the sake of content. In the meanwhile, on screen a reenactment of World War I is going on, with both sides not accomplishing anything while pretending to be very dangerous. There are some cursed fanaticism dolls in the sewers level 1, but knowing just how terrible this entire run has been going so far, I decided to play properly and let the revives deal with it. Strange how playing well has you dying less. Sometimes it's not skill, but just pure dumb luck. I could not have planned this better if I tried. I don't know what made him walk out on his own. But I'm not here to ask questions. I'm just here to eat shit and suffer bubblegum. So a quick surround later, Mr. Fister goes to a farm far away for his retirement, and as his thank you he gives us the final part we need to get to Mephisto. In the Durance of Hate level 2, I get Stepsister stuck in a corner with the Maulers pounding my ass. However, just like with every other fight as a summon necro, once the first one falls, all shall fall and we are immortal again thanks to our giant army of Maulers. I could have just skipped these guys, but they are a fantastic boss killer, as you can tell here by all of them ignoring Mephisto and just wandering around killing random stuff that doesn't matter at all, while Mephisto fights a couple without any problems. Perfect, couldn't have gone better. To heat up after this series of just the coolest moments in the history of gaming, I went to the desert to get some new friends before jumping back into the fight. The Hairy Maulers, which sounds like an excellent band name if you ask me, end up dealing with all the random riffraff running around their ringleader and finally defeat El Lut Piñata. Act 4 will be the final of the acts where I just stand around and pretend to be relevant. The summoning skills are dwindling as fast as my will to live on and continue this run, but for the final one, we are going with the Iron Golem. This golem is by far the best one of the bunch of offensive purposes, with only the clay golem beating it out on the defensive side of things. I like being offensive way more than being defensive. Now normally the problem with this for a regular solo self-found run is that it requires items to be summoned and tends to die in about 30 seconds, which I to this day claim is a great show of stamina that no one should complain about. But well, people do, I don't get it either. This time around however, the stash is just filled up to the brim, and I know exactly what item I am going to turn into the Iron Golem. A few people already guessed in the comments section, but a few runs ago I ended up finding an ethereal unique Berserker axe. This item with a 1 in 88 million chance to drop. Not an exaggeration by the way, it truly has a 1 in 88 million chance to drop. Anyway, this item just is a giant checklist of things I want for on an item. It has a bunch of damage, deadly strike, which means double damage 66% of the time and increased attack speed to make that damage happen more often. The most important part of all of this, and what was the final decider as to why I decided to go with the Berserker axe, is that it's going to piss a few people off so fucking much in the comments, and that is hilarious to me. All memes aside, I think it looks fucking sick that the golem is faded out when you use an ethereal item. Mad props to the developers on that one. Well done guys. Expecting my golem to die before I left the stairs into the outer steps, it was a pleasant surprise that it was holding its own. And not in the sense of just surviving, but it was out there taking names. Kind of makes me regret using it in the shortest act of the game. But oh well, pretend to survive a lot of things and learn. Just look at them bullying the armorer. It makes me proud after all these acts that I finally summoned something that doesn't suck balls for breakfast, lunch and dinner. For the Hellforge we got a Lum rune by the way. I have so many runes that it doesn't matter anymore at all, but I know people are curious, so here you go. Being impressed with the Iron Golem never ends. In the Chaos Sanctuary its health bar is taking small nudges of damage, but nothing even comes close to being a risk for it. It took a 1 in 88 million drop, but we finally managed to make the Iron Golem good. It even managed to take down the first 2 boss packs that spawn after Diablo's doorbells are rung. I never thought I would see the day, but here we are. All things good have to come to an end though. In the final pack of butlers in the mansion, our trusted friend finally falls. Rest in peace Golem, it was wonderful working with you. The show must go on, so I take an immortal king hammer and turn that into my next Iron Golem. This ended up being an even better item to make the Iron Golem from, thanks to its pile of damage, crushing blow and 2 open sockets that I didn't put anything into because I forgot. During the final fight I assumed the role of the tank once again. Tanking Diablo Nightmare is pretty easy as long as you are close enough. His lightning attack will miss you and you can see his firestorm coming a mile away and it's easy to dodge. While I'm doing this, the magic that isn't on screen at all and the golem are whittling down his health, and before long it reaches 0 and the fight is over. With this being the 6th character of the series, a lot of items have been spared up and saved from the horror of turning into golem snacks. Now I could save them until the end of time in my inventory, but blowing people's mind by just turning everything into golem food is way funnier. So it's time for a big old bargain sale as everything has to go. It's a tough decision, except for the parts where it wasn't. But mules need to be cleared out here people. I need to save those kilobytes of data that a new character takes. Anyway, we are out of things to summon, and I am really over not doing anything to play along except spamming some curses. So from here on out it is time for the part of the run where I actually get to play the game. It took us 9 acts, but we have finally arrived at the part where I matter. You'd think this is where things finally pick up, but don't be fooled. There is a reason almost no Necromancer runs are on this channel. Even after clearing out the summon tree, we still have a bunch of terrible skills to work through. To start out on that, I go into the poison part of the poison and bone skill tree with poison dagger, which sucks, poison explosion, which also sucks, and poison nova, the only good thing on this part of the tree. To help these skills out, I also work my way towards lower resistance, which lowers enemy resistance. What's in a name after all? I did miscount by 1, but I'm almost level up anyway, so it's not a huge problem. Act 5 is the part where I have to grind for levels, so I decide to use the only good skill of the bunch here, which means that for Act 5 Nightmare I am going Poison Nova. I love this skill, it is one of my favorite build-arounds in the whole game. And if the name didn't imply it clearly enough yet, it is the poison version of the Nova the sorceress has in the lightning and cold form. Now that I'm thinking about it, is kind of weird we didn't get the other two elements, being fire and magic in Nova forms. We did get physical after all in the Barbarian's war cry, and here we have the poison version. Oh well, 4 out of 6 isn't too bad. I should do a war cry Barbarian again. It's a build I get a ton of questions about, and people seem to have no idea of just how ridiculously good it is. Anyway, I digress, and after having dealt with Shank the Overseer, it is time to make my weapon for the rest of the run. Along my journey I picked up a bone wand that has +2 to Poison Nova, and now 2 sockets as well. I'm going to make the rune word white in here, which is Doll.io. This rune word is nothing short of cracked. For runes you can easily get in Act 1 Nightmare by killing the countess a few times. You get +3 to poison and bone skills, 20 faster cast rate, a pile of plus skills to all sorts of neat necro skills, a bit of vitality, a pinch of mana, a symbolic amount of magic damage reduction, and of course the obligatory racism to the undead. There is just a small problem with the poison skills, they can't open a door. Not a problem for us though, as by the power of magic, the door just randomly opens itself. Life always finds a way after all. Now Poison Nova is an actual good skill, so the rest of the act gets cleared at breakneck speed. Nothing here is stopping over 1000 Nova damage at a time, so after a bunch of grinding Eldritch, I am now in a much better position to move on into the rest of the game. Along the way, during all of this, I found lots and lots of items, one of them being the Hone Sundan. This unique Yari is what they call stupid good. It has flat damage, 45% crushing blow, which means you deal a percentage of their life total as damage and 3 open sockets, which in this case I decided to put 14 life leech and some cold damage in. The life leech for obvious survival of our magic reasons, and the cold damage for some minor crowd control. Now, not a single door in Sanctuary is safe. The ancients weren't much of a thing either. They did some attacking and some running after me, but all that ended up doing for them is getting poisoned, which got followed up by them being dead. The Unravelers in the Throne of Destruction are poison immune, but it's nothing that our Hone Sundan can't solve. Same for the Venom Lords, all of them are poison immune, but between Decrepify slowing them down and the hired help going to town on them, it's just not an issue. For Bale, we just broke him again. It was free, as usual. And now it's time for the part I was really dreading. For my next special trick I am equipping a dagger. In Hell Act 1 we are going with Poison Dagger. I planned it like this for a few reasons. The first being that this skill is complete ass on a dick, so I want to deal with it as little as possible. In Act 1 you only need to kill exactly one enemy. You can just run up all the way up to the Catacombs level 4 ignoring everything you encounter, which is exactly what I'm doing. Now that was only one reason, but this skill is so bad it counts twice. After ignoring every single monster in the entire act like I owe them money, we arrive at the Catacombs level 4. In here it is definitely me dealing every bit of damage against the Carrion clone. The fight itself is just a lot of standing there and stabbing her, and after about 5 minutes of this, she explodes and it is time for the final bit of poison to be dealt this run. For the final few acts I need a respec. There are 3 more skills that deal damage, which I get to divide over 4 acts. Don't worry though, I have a plan, but to execute it I first need to work my way through the Den of Evil, which isn't hard to do or anything, just takes a while because of how bad Poison Dagger is. Corpse Fire ended up dropping a unique salad, which is the Rock Stopper, an amazing helm with physical damage reduction and a pile of resistances. Love this helm, but it's mostly intended for melee characters, so we won't be using it. The final character rebuild involves a lot of stats pumped into a lot of places people won't expect them to. It's not often you see a necro going up all the way to 146 dexterity after all. And why are we doing this, you ask? Well, for Act 2 Hell, we are going to be using the unique ward bow, the Widowmaker. On the Amazon run I didn't use Guided Arrow, which means that per my rules I get to use it now to supplement the very lackluster skill diversity of the Necromancer. This plus the final 3 bone skills is how I am going to get to the 15 skills needed to get through the rest of the game. My damage and resistances aren't quite up as high as I would like them to be. 150 to 500 Guided Arrow damage sounds bad. The resistances aren't exactly doing a lot better. I'm maxed out on lightning by some coincidence, but the fire, cold and poison are all that nice shade of red we have all come to know and love. All the stats I had to put into strength and dexterity for my gear also means that I'm going to be running around at 530 life. I'm sure nothing will go wrong doing this. A lot of Act 2 is based around not dealing with a single thing and just running around everything I can get away from. Every second not playing as a bow necro is a moment well spent after all. One area where you can't do that at all is everybody's favorite place to just hang out and do some chilling. As you can imagine and see on the screen, I did a lot of spending time down here thanks to the enemies being immune to physical attacks and me dealing very little damage in general, and all of it being physical to boot, meaning that the black locusts are quite literally immune to me. I did remember halfway through that I just found a unique sharkskin belt. This is the razor tail. It does nothing at all that matters for me except for the 33% chance to pierce, which immediately makes it the best belt in the game for any ranged character. Allowing attacks to hit multiple enemies even a third of the time is just that strong. With our new belt around our waist, just look at us going full beast mode through the maggot lair. Enemies are dying in seconds instead of minutes now. What a glorious time to be alive. The funniest part about all of this is that this would make you think that every single bow necromancer is terrible. But if you use the edge rune word and get some thorns going with a huge army, you are going to wreck face. Which is not what we are doing at all right now. But I just wanted to reminisce about how strong a necro can be. Cause boy has it been struggling with everything everywhere all at once during this run. And we still aren't through all the bad skills. Got one more bad one to go after this. Fortunately for me, 2 good ones as well. That is all dreams of futures past, though for now we are just chugging our way through the maggot lair, one enemy at a time. I end up doing the correct thing and using amplify damage when we encounter a physical immune fanaticism maggot on level 3, which even with that took about a minute to kill, but we did get the job done, which in the end is all that matters. Same goes for the final room, because it took forever and a bit to get there. The maggots had plenty of time to get their Friday night on, spawning tons of little maggots filling up the room to capacity. Thanks to my ability to deal with exactly one, no more, no less, just one. Enemies at a time, this ends up with us in a situation which is like trying to stop the maggots from spawning while the maggots are still spawning them. Cause well, that's exactly what's going on. This situation lasted for what feels like forever, but in reality was a few minutes, which still is a very sad realization. But I, and definitely not Gulzar, ended up making a path through, allowing us to grab the staff and get out. To the surprise of absolutely no one. This necro with his resists in the red and his health pool at barely over 500 is of course a unit of a tank. So when I run through the palace cellar level 2, all the survivability of the build comes out in full force, which means that to the surprise of no one, I died. The arcane sanctuary wasn't too bad. I ended up just using the modes between the portals to deal with everything. I also just got lucky here again by getting a first way exit, which was just excellent. I was not looking forward to doing a bunch of fair fights in the arcane sanctuary at all. There is some bad news to be shared about the guided arrow necromancer though. During the Tal Rasha tomb I had to admit to myself, and thus also to you, that the guided arrow necro might not exactly be the next meta breaker we had all hoped it would be. I know, it's sad. We were all looking forward to playing the next big hype build, but this ain't it. The Duriel fight wasn't much of a problem. He applied the old philosophy of the beatings will continue until morale improves. Fortunately for us, Gulzar was mostly able to just take all of it. The beatings didn't work, but Duriel's death definitely improves morale, cause it means I get to switch out of this fucking terrible build. With the final 3 acts of the game, it is time for the final 3 skills of the Necromancer. These are the bone skills, and for act 3 we are going with Bone Spear, cause it is the best one and I need to play something good after all this crap or I'm going to end up uninstalling the game. Bone Spear has you shooting a projectile in a straight line at an enemy. It pierces and deals magic damage. All that is to say that this is the best skill the Necromancer has for this run by a lot. The downside to playing a good skill in a run like this is that it won't last very long and you'll be back in the trenches soon enough. But for now, I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts. Along my way through the spider forest I ended up finding a grand charm that turned out to be a Warcry skiller. It's a shame that I already did the barbarian run, but stuff like this is to be expected at the end of a shared stash run. It takes a few shots to recover the git bin, which is followed up by giving Ormus his ring back. He tells us he doesn't need it anymore, and I fully get why. This ring is trash. Having a good projectile attack with full screen range means that in the sewers I get to use the environment to my advantage, allowing me to very easily work my way through all of it. Using a strong skill with some half decent gear means that I can deal with the rest of the act without any problems. The most dangerous thing in the Durance level 3 normally is the council, then the random stuff that is just floating around the map, and finally Mephisto. Another thing that turns out to be very dangerous is to just forget how bad your life pool and your fire resist are and just dying while taking meteors to the face. Mephisto himself has a really bad time with Decrepify, Crushing Blow and magic damage, which means that the fun times are over and it is time to get into the final bad skill of the run. Teeth is a level 1 skill that deals very little damage. At level 27 it reaches a whopping 284 to 375. A lot of words can be used to describe the power of this skill, but I think I can do it with just 3 letters. Sad or bad. Take your pick, both work. Despite me casually shitting on this skill, it's still a spell and not a melee ability, so despite having everything looking against it, it's better than expected. I've done playthroughs with way worse than this. It's always a happy surprise when the dread you were feeling turns out to be unfounded. On the stairs towards the city of the damned, the streak of finding a bonkers rare item continues when a unique glorious axe falls to the floor. I won't be using it for this run, but Executioner's Justice is a very strong weapon for a unique, nothing too fancy. But when does a two-handed axe really need to be fancy to get the job done? Just swing into their heads and the problems solve themselves. The one thing that I personally find weird about this one is that it casts Decrepify on killing an enemy. Now I understand that this is for crowd control purposes and all, but wouldn't on attacking make more sense? This makes the weapon so much worse against act bosses cause they won't trigger the best ability. A very weird and undeserved nerf to an otherwise fantastic weapon. The rest of the act ends up going so much smoother than I ever guessed it would. So if anyone would want a Teeth Necro run, I might actually be interested in doing it, now that I know it's at least kind of viable-ish. I really want to put more Necro videos on the channel, but the character just doesn't have a lot going on. I might just go and play a bunch of Necros in other games, maybe they'll even have better survivability. Along the way I found a unique grand crown as well. This is the Crown of Thieves, a fantastic helm for a melee character with a 10 life leech, 25 dex for extra attack rating, a bit of life and mana and some fire resistance. I'm obviously not going to use it on this run, cause just like every other item I found during this one has been for a melee character, but I love this helm. The caster privilege is shining through more and more with our starting bone skill easily taking down Hepasto. Our Hellforge drop is an IO rune. Now like I said earlier, it doesn't matter anymore what I get from the forge, I have plenty of everything. Having repeated that, I still hate getting an IO rune here, it feels so tragic. In the Chaos Sanctuary I ended up needing to use Bone Wall to do some crowd control. Besides that, it was just business as usual and Gulzar and I made our way through like the champions we are for now. Just an act and a boss to go before we promote to the rank of Patriarch. Speaking about bosses, the Diablo fight in Hell is stupidly easy. I strongly disagree with the bosses being so much easier in Hell, but there is not much to be done about it. So a couple minutes of blasting some enthusiastic looking swimmers up Diablo's asshole. I mean seriously, just look at this fight, and when you're done with that, look at the beautiful unique Thresher he drops. Now this weapon is everything the Executioner's Justice wants to be, for the simple reason that it casts the Decrepify on attack instead of on kill, basically taking it from B to S tier in a heartbeat. It also gets ignore targets defense and some cold damage to add on even more crowd control. The ethereal version of this is one of the best weapons in the game if you have the Zod rune for it. I found the Reaper's Toll on my Kicksin video and the run went from borderline impossible to laughably easy. Now the level requirement is too high for this run. I'm getting nowhere near 75 during any of this, but if you have one of these laying around, use it, it's a phenomenal weapon. With that we have reached the final act, and I get to use a good skill for it as well. Bone Spirit was the first ever skill I built a Necromancer around, because it's level 30 requirement, so surely it had to be better than the level 18 skill. 15-year-old me had no idea what he was doing, but I'll never have a bone to pick with this spirit. This is the Necromancer's version of Guided Arrow, meaning that you shoot a ball of magic damage at a monster and it will always chase and hit the target unless it goes out of range. The downside to it is that it's just not as much damage per second as the Bone Spear, and it doesn't pierce, so it's a single target attack. A lot of this act just kind of flew by, not because the act is short or unfun or due to the power of Bone Spirit, it was all just because I really wanted to be done with this run so I could move on with my life and forget all about the misery that was this character. We aren't done yet though. After having made my way through the cold of the mountain, it is time to deal with the ancients. Bone Spirit fucks for sure though, so once they are isolated, the Bone Spirits make short work of them. The final bits of misery come along in the Worldstone Keep level 1. In my infinite patience I decided that running through would be the way to go. It wasn't. Now normally I would just restart the game, but after checking what waypoints I have, I decided that having Gulzar clear things out was also a very viable option. This did not quite go as smooth as I would have hoped. with Golzar randomly going to sleep after just a few seconds into a fight, despite me helping him out with Decrepify. In the end, I barely even made it out before making a safety town portal. Running away from enemies like that does tend to split them up, so when we got back it was time to take out the first few stragglers, followed up by a few more going down, and some more, to end up with Golzar finally taking down the super unique monster. The rest of the World Stone was just a matter of spamming bone walls and spamming spirits until I didn't need to anymore. During the Bale waves, my survivability caught off with me one final time when I embarrassingly enough died to the first wave of them. Am I the first one to ever do that? Probably not, but I'm sure not a lot of people have died to this wave. With this, I might have just died to everything at least once in the game. The Unravelers in the second wave are magic immune, so I'm boned if I try to shoot them with spirits. Just like earlier though, Golzar doesn't have a problem with them. The final 3 waves all just got stuck in a bunch of bone walls, allowing me to just fire at will until I could get into the Bale fight. Just like every other time, this fight was easy and free. It took a few minutes of shooting at him, but he went down like it isn't a school night, no problem. With that, the run is done. The Necromancer run has come to an end, and all I can say is, thank Tyrael. This run was a mess from start to finish. This does mean that unless something changes my video schedule, the next video will be the end of this series. We are concluding it all with the Paladin. For now though, we have defeated Diablo 2 and will be claiming that we did it using 15 different skills and nothing went wrong at all and no shortcuts were taken whatsoever. As always, for the people still here, thank you for watching, and of course a special thank you to YouTube members and Patreons, and I will see you all in the next one.